Today, we're here not to compare these two phones, but to show you that you literally cannot compare these two phones. Let's go. There's a whole narrative out there that the Z Fold 6 needs to be the S24 Ultra. That because you're paying a lot of money for the Z Fold 6, you need to get the exact same experience as you would on the S24 Ultra, plus the folding experience on top of that. I disagree. These two phones are not the same, nor are they meant to be the same. So for everyone to be talking about comparing them and needing to say that this needs to be the same, let's talk about why that's wrong. First things first, the design of these is completely different from each other. Both of these phones are aiming to be and do different things. The S24 Ultra is purely trying to be a standard slab smartphone that is conventional in every sense of the word. Big, massive display, 6.8 inches to be precise. It's pretty much as is for smartphones for the last 10 years. Only it does what normal smartphones could normally do, but just does it better because it's bigger. The design, the rest of it, just depends on how you like the feel in your hand. The slightly curved titanium frame, the flat glass back and front, that's kind of up to you whether you like that. But on the whole, its design purpose is to be a normal smartphone. Access all your apps on the screen, watch all your content on the screen. This is the screen that you do everything with. The Z Fold 6 is completely different. Yes, on the front, it does kind of lean into normal smartphone usability. That design is what it's there for after all. But the whole folding aspect, the hinge and the fact you can open it and then you have a tablet, that makes it completely different from the S24 Ultra. Lots of people say it needs to have the same front size screen or aspect ratio as the S24 Ultra, which means that what's the point of having the bigger inner display if you've got this already massive cover display? The design of this is to truly give you that two-in-one experience. Quick smartphone interactions can be done using this very handy and very comfortable one-handed usage cover screen, and then you unfold it into the tablet, because that is where this sort of separates itself from everything else. This transforms the way you use a device like a smartphone, instead of just making what a smartphone can do that little bit better. So for everyone who says this needs to have the same size aspect ratio display on the front as the S24 Ultra does, I say to them, use a Fold. Get used to the idea that this transforms how you use a phone, not just makes the phone you're already using that little bit better. The rest of the design stuff, Samsung, of course, try and make it close to a smartphone experience. They still give you the nice matte glass on the back. They still give you, for the Fold this year, the flatter sides or the completely flat sides. So they still try and make it comfortable and, that's what I'm looking for. They still try and make it comfortable and recognizable, because we've all owned smartphones, so you still want that comfort and familiarity from a normal smartphone here, but you also need to get used to a new way of doing things, because that's what this design opens up. And we'll definitely get to that when we talk about the camera and the sort of performance and utility a little bit later. The camera is another big point where I see a lot of people say these need to have the ultra cameras. The cameras that are on here need to be the cameras that are on here. Myself personally, I am a tech aficionado, so I want the best technology on the best technology, so the best cameras on the Fold 6. However, that is probably truly a very 1% niche of audience that is calling for that. The smartphone user that uses a Fold, they want the utility of the form factor, not necessarily the hardware prowess of the S24 Ultra. So yes, this of course has the 4 cameras on the back, the 200 megapixel main camera with a bigger sensor than what's on here. You've got the 5x telephoto paired with a 3x telephoto to give you that ultimate camera flexibility when shooting conventionally. Because ultimately, again, like the design, this takes what is good about a slab smartphone and makes it better. So the experience is the same, it's just a better experience, if that makes sense. Let me try and explain that properly. The experience is familiar, that's better, but it's better than what you've been used to. The Fold takes the experience that you're used to and adds in extra layers. A lot of people will probably think I'm going to be here and stand here and compare output. It's not about that. The output comparison between these two is basically pointless, because in daytime, they're going to take very similar photos, if not for slightly different processing from the Fold versus the S24 Ultra, which has always been the case. Samsung have always done different processing for their cameras. The big comparison or not comparison between these two is how you can take different types of shots and the flexibility that this form factor gives you over a slab smartphone. The ability to have its own tripod where you can put the camera down in flex mode and have software that takes advantage of that form factor and that hardware to allow you to capture content on the go much easier. Where you would normally need to set up a tripod for a normal slab smartphone, for a fold, you have it with you. As long as you've got a flat surface around you on the floor, on a table, you have a tripod that can easily shoot content like this. Or it's the fact that because you have a cover screen, you can use the rear cameras and preview them on the cover screen. So you've got a walking vlog camera with high quality rear cameras that will capture really nice content, or family selfies when you're traveling around overseas. All of that needs to be considered because this form factor can do what the S24 Ultra can't do. This can do about 95% of what the S24 Ultra can do. It's got all the same camera modes. It's got all of the same type of Samsung software. The S24 Ultra will never do what this can do, ever. So when people say, oh, the camera needs to be the same in terms of hardware, they're completely missing the point. So many camera comparisons are standing there and comparing side-by-side image processing. You're not getting what you need to know about this camera system. It is not about these three things here. It's about this thing here and what it does enable these three things to do. Samsung could put ultra flagship cameras on the back of here, but it won't fundamentally change how you use this because that is what's more important with a foldable versus the S24 Ultra. Like I said, I wouldn't be mad if Samsung did put this over here, but again, that is a very niche audience that would want that. The majority of foldable users are buying the Fold for its utility of camera versus the output. And that sort of leans into the last point, the utility. Samsung, again, with its design and form factor, haven't just made it a Fold and call it a day. They build stuff around the hardware to marry up with the form. Function and form married together truly is what sets this apart over the S24 Ultra. I think a lot of people tend to kind of miss the point on is that there's a Fold 6 is a tablet. It's not a phone. Yet everyone wants to judge it like a phone. The S24 Ultra takes what a normal smartphone can do and makes it better. Basically, it's got the bigger display. You can do your multitasking. You have things like the S Pen. You've got all of your Samsung One UI software that you need to perform and function like a phone. It does it better than other phones because of the fact Samsung's One UI is so considered, is so well thought out and feature rich. When you talk about the Fold 6, it's all about what it can do for you outside of a normal smartphone. Things like it being its own stand. When you're traveling, you have yourself a stand to be able to prop up your content and consume it on. Great. With a phone, you'll need to be bringing a accessory to make that happen. Things like being able to do split screen multitasking on the inner display and have the apps be two full-size apps running side by side. The continuity between cover screen and inner display. You get the quick one-handed usage on the front, and then when you're ready, you open it up and you get to seamlessly transition to that inner screen and continue where you left off, whether that be social media apps, whether that be productivity apps, whether that be just browsing the internet. You can go from that cover screen into that inner display seamlessly and move on from a normal smartphone into a tablet experience with something that folds up and fits inside your pocket. The Fold 6 has everything the S24 Ultra does. It has DeX. It has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy. So all of those performance things that you come to expect from a normal slab are here on the Z Fold 6. You're not missing anything that you can do on a normal phone on here. You're gaining stuff that a normal phone can't do. I do hear a lot of people compare this to other foldables. And whilst I appreciate the hardware refinements and hardware advancements that other foldables have made, I think Samsung is taking an approach that prioritizes customer experience over just relentless hardware innovation. Because when they push the boundaries a lot with hardware, you have to make sacrifices to achieve. Samsung, in their 6 iterations of Fold so far, have tried to make as little sacrifices as possible, especially once they started including water resistance. For them, it was about ensuring the smartphone core experience is still there. Wireless charging, wireless power share, flagship capable cameras, even if they're not the best hardware available. S Pen experience. Samsung are really trying to keep that around to make sure that customers are getting a lot of value for their money. It's not just about having the thinnest foldable or the lightest foldable. It's about making sure that the package is there. So in comparing these two, you can see that they shouldn't be compared. It's wrong to stand here and compare these two phones because ultimately they are aimed and targeted at two different types of users. This one is after the person that wants the do everything slab phone, the one that likes the experience of a smartphone now, but wants to do it to the best of their ability. Whereas the Fold 6 is chasing a new audience, a target market of consumers that wants to take their smartphone experience, but expand it out, make it better, do things that they've never been able to do on a phone before. Because basically, this isn't a phone, whereas this is. So you can't really compare them. That's it for this week. Hit subscribe to Tech with Benefits. See you the next one. Woo!